Being good at conversations will make you rich. Not joking, stick around. Hi, Rich here, and today we're going to talk about conversation. Or specifically, salesmanship of yourself. And if this is your first time here and you're interested in continuing or starting your journey to wealth, make sure you take that first step by hitting the subscribe button, the bell notification, so you don't miss a future video or step that we're taking on our journey to wealth. The first step that you need to avoid in conversation so you're successful in your life is interrupting. Do not interrupt people. It's rude. It's not kind. You need to not do that. I mean, if I was in the middle of this conversation...
Dude, that's awesome! That is great! Hey, man, have you seen the new movie?
Don't interrupt people. You know what it says about you? That you're not paying attention to them. Because our brain rewards us for thinking of things. So basically, during a conversation, we'll hear a word or trigger word about something that we're excited about. And we'll want to jump in and interrupt and say that. And oftentimes, it's not related to what the conversation actually is about. We have to discipline ourselves not to do those things. We have to stay engaged in the conversation, ask questions from the other person's perspective so we fully understand what they're saying. If you're starting or continuing your journey to wealth, you need to be a good salesman. You need to be good at communicating. And interrupting shows that you're not that thing. The second thing you can't do is always talk. Don't be the one in the room that's just always talking. I want to challenge you the next time you're in a conversation, really sit and meditate about how much you're actually doing the talking. You might be thinking, oh yeah, and this is coming from the guy on the internet. And I used to have a huge problem with this. I always just had to talk. And as I began to become more self-aware through meditation and people telling me just, Rich, stop! I eventually picked up on the fact that I always had to do the talking. So I began to slow down and let other people talk. If you're the person that always has to talk, that means you're self-absorbed. And that will not go well. If you're trying to do a meeting with someone, and all you're doing is the talking, how in the world can you get a business transaction done? So, hey man, I really need to borrow some money from you. Hey, we should go to the game sometime together. Yeah, no, I really want to benefit everything that you have to offer. I don't want to hear what you have to say, but I'm going to ask questions and I'm never going to actually shut up. Yeah, it's not going to fly. I mean, again, a smart business person will look at somebody like that and be like, no. Don't interrupt, don't always talk. The third thing is you have to hear the other side of the conversation. Understand what they're saying. Listen to them, talk to them, ask questions to clarify. Be engaged in the conversation. I know this is a little bit like, well, yeah, if it's business, I'll pay attention. But if you won't pay attention during normal conversations, that's going to carry over to your serious conversations. And believe me, smart business people will detect that if you're not paying attention. Hopefully that gives you just 3 things to think about when trying to develop your own personal conversation skills. Now let's talk about how to deal with people that are like that. This is where it's gonna get funny.
Hey man, so once I was playing Magic the Gathering,
dude, I don't play Magic the Gathering.
I had 2 mana in my hand when on my opening hand.
Hey, I really gotta go. Why are you still talking? You're not even, I mean, that's not even fair. I mean, you're not even listening to me at all. Just stop talking!
They didn't have anything, so they passed the turn. And so what I went...
Yeah, we've all been there. We all know what that's like. It's very difficult. So let me just hopefully give you a couple of strategies that I've learned from other conversationalists, professional conversationalists, I think that's a thing. First off, the first thing you need to do is when you see a small lull in the conversation, like they're going to take a breath, and sometimes they don't even do that. So the first thing you need to try and do with someone like that is do what they call the fish mouth. You go, and that makes them like, oh, he's about to say something, and hopefully they'll slow down enough. Try it. You know, think about it. And if it's over the phone, just make it verbally loud. And the second step that you need to do is do the palm. I'm sorry, and begin to talk. And make sure your first punctuation of a word is quite, I'm sorry, dude, I have to get going. Or whatever it may be. And it's very possible, if they're that type of self-absorbed individual, that won't even work. And in that case, you say, I'm sorry, dude, you're not even letting me talk. And turn around and walk away. I know it seems rude, but what else do? You can't just sit there just like, if you're at a party and you're trying to enjoy everyone else, I'm sorry, let me go talk to another friend and walk up. hey dude, I'm gonna make my rounds, and walk off. And don't wait for them to respond, because they're not gonna let you. If the fish mouth and the palm, trying to interrupt them doesn't work, then just say, hey, I'm gonna go, and leave. And if it's in a business relationship, you don't want to be in that business relationship. Someone that doesn't stop talking, they're incredibly self-absorbed, and that will spill over into their professional behavior. Interrupters. How to deal with interrupters. We've all been there. We're all like, hey man, so I was going to this bar last night.
Yeah, man, bars are awesome. I went to this one bar. There was this really hot chick. No, it was awesome.
Did you think that was the end of my story? So how you deal with interrupters is just be kind and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't done yet. Literally jump in there, cut them off, say, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't finished. The thing you need to say, especially if it's like an important conversation, in private, just general chat conversations, whatever, just let them talk. It's not a big deal. But if it's a business important conversation, you need to do this one thing. Stop them, do the hand. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't finished. I don't want you to misunderstand what I have to say. By saying that line, I'm sorry, I don't want you to misunderstand what I have to say, is going to do two things. First of all, it's going to make them pay attention. Second of all, it should shut them up. If not, again, walk away and never do business with that person. So just do that. I'm sorry, let me finish. I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying. And step number 3, people that won't hear you. Example. So it's real interesting that Bitcoin actually is becoming like, a legitimate currency that people are actually using. Yeah, PayPal's fantastic. It's a great way to actually move funds around and stuff like that. Yeah, and the president, he's ridiculous. You can't trust the president ever. Were you even listening? But how you deal with that is kind of like how you deal with interrupters. Just be like, well, I'm sorry, I don't think I didn't explain myself well. Again, use the hand. I'm sorry, I don't think I explained myself well. Let me rephrase my question. And that's going to make them pay attention. Now let's talk about admitting you're wrong. Now, a lot of conversations are essentially debates. It's two different opinions and people trying to reach an agreement. In business, you are going to have to be willing to be wrong. You need to love truth more than being right. Because being wrong means you get to learn. It means you get to improve and be a better, smarter person. What's not exciting about that? Have the humility to listen and admit you're being wrong. And you get some of these guys or some of these people, and I used to be one. Nope, the only way that I'll ever admit I'm wrong is if you actually prove it to me on the internet right now. That's the only way that I'll admit it. Okay. No, that's not accurate data. That's not accurate, nope. We can't be that way. We have to be willing to admit we're wrong, especially if it's important information. And that's why it's very important that A, you don't interrupt, B, you're not the only one talking, C, that you're hearing their side of the story. Because if you don't understand what they're saying, how can you prove them wrong? That's why you should be asking more questions than statements you're making. Ask them to define what they mean. Ask them to define the right context that they're talking about. Be engaged into the conversation. Be engaged in the debate, understanding their point of view so that you can then make your statements to hopefully present another side of the story. Hopefully that will help you become a better conversationalist. If you severely struggle with one of these things, definitely do some more research on this, on how to conquer that. Sometimes it's difficult to overcome some of these bad habits. And that's why doing a lot of research will help. Because first of all, you're admitting you're wrong on something, and that's a great start. Love truth more than being right.
No better place to be. No better place to be. It's no better place to be. Right here, right now.
This one is about interrupting people.